Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. Joining us today is the Tech Mahindra Senior Management, CEO Mr. CP Gurnani, CFO Mr. Rohit Anand, and the CEO Designate, Mr. Mohit Joshi. Gentlemen, welcome to BQ Prime.
Thank you, Tushar. And you want to call you Tushar Deep Singh or only Tushar?
Tushar is okay, sir.
All right, good.
All right. So, Mr. Gurnani, coming to you first, you called this quarter the toughest that you have seen in a long while. Take us through your understanding right now and maybe the outlook for the rest of the year. We're not talking numbers, but how do you expect the year to pan out from here on?
Overall, when I look at some of the known trends means headwinds that were known to all of us, which is inflation, which is supply chain disruptions, impact of the war on the economy, and in a way, some of the geopolitical tensions. What was unknown was that despite of good performance of overall economy comparatively, certain transformative projects were put on hold. And I would say in a lot of ways that was unplanned for. And that's what you saw, that one of my major verticals in CME showed a minus 9.4% decline quarter on quarter. So we knew partially that Comviva has a seasonal quarter, but transformative projects being put on hold or one odd client going bankrupt was a little bit of an, unplanned, what I would say. So to some extent, I can only say is that we have learned our lessons. We need to be a little better at, planning and being able to balance the way we would balance our revenue and expenditure. So when you have a hit on the revenue, you always have a sharper hit on your profit. So I can only say that Tech Mahindra as a company will do better scenario planning and will do hence better execution. But in general, I remain optimistic about the industry. I remain upbeat about Tech Mahindra. And our more important is I'm confident that the recovery will happen quarter over quarter.
Just a small question again. Would you say that this is the bottom for the industry as well as for Tech Mahindra?
I can't speak for the industry, but for Tech Mahindra, we should be able to recover in most aspects quarter on quarter.
All right. Coming to you, Mr. Anand, wanted to get a picture on how the deal making is happening right now, both from the TCV value and the client base. Also from the point of view of what is the nature of the deal making that you are seeing, the discretionary spending or the long-term deal, Mr. Anand?
Yeah. So as you can see from the numbers, I think the deal value that we've announced, the TCV has gone down quarter over quarter, and the trend over the last 2-3 quarters have been declining there. I think we narrated that earlier also, that our first half view was going to be a tough scenario, and that's what is coming out to be. In terms of the discussions, mainly I think in the communication side, the telcos are bringing a lot of control on their OpEx spend and restricting new capital outlays or discussions. That's causing a reduction in deal flow there, or also in the decision making. In terms of other segments, I think generally the nature of deals that we were seeing a couple of years back were more around a lot on transformation side. That is, changed from a mix perspective more in terms of vendor consolidation. We're seeing more deals in terms of cost and efficiency side versus transformation. So that's been the deal mix change, and in overall across segments, more so in telecom than others, the decision making is delayed. While that is prevalent across, but that's what we're seeing. But the view is as we move forward, the change will move towards the favorable side, and this is probably the first half is the bottoming side from that perspective.
What about the conversion from your so the deal pipeline, I assume, is robust. But do you see the conversion coming in from conversion of from deals to revenue coming in the later half of the fiscal?
Yeah, I think that's important on what is the 2Q and the 3Q deal wins. I think if that goes back from a momentum standpoint and gets to a old range perspective, then that converting into revenue would be possible in a better second half. But if that moves into the fourth quarter, then very limited revenue conversion happens for the deal executed in the fourth quarter. So I think we'll have to continue to monitor the situation closely and see how it plays out in the next few months.
My next question is to Mr. Mohit Joshi. Just wanted to know, their exposure to the CME vertical is quite large. About 42% of the revenue comes from the CME vertical, and that's declined. You are a BFSI veteran for the longest time. How much diversification do you think will be needed so that we are Tech Mahindra is back to growth phase again?
Sure. So look, I think this is quite a nuanced answer to this question. The first is that I think it's been a stated strategy for a while, stated by CP and the other management team, that we do want to build outside of CME, that is to build up a practice in insurance and banking and financial services and retail and manufacturing. So it's a stated strategy of the company. It's not something new that that I've come up with. But the second thing is that I also want to be very mindful of the fact that we have genuine strength in CME, right? And that the elements of our CME expertise, for instance, the strength on the network side, that can be replicated in other markets as well. So while we are looking to build out, capability and strength in other sectors, I want to be absolutely mindful of the fact that we do not let go of the immense strengths, the immense expertise, the market presence, the client relationship that we have in CME, because they're irreplaceable. So we really have to do both, to defend and to build on our strength in CME while building up strength in other sectors as well. And this will be aided by the fact that the group, actually, the M&M group, has significant strengths in some verticals, right? Like in manufacturing, for instance, but also in travel, leisure, and hospitality, also in financial services. So we'll be looking to build on the expertise and the relationships in those sectors to build out a deeper presence for Tech Mahindra in manufacturing, in travel and hospitality, in financial services, and others.
Got it, Mr. Joshi. My next question is to Mr. Gurnani. We have seen a decline in profitability as well. Revenue conversion is still a hazy picture. What margin levers can the company deploy to actually shore up your profitability going ahead in the next few quarters?
Really, it's ultimately, to me, profitability is just a sign of various initiatives that are being undertaken in the company. And so the various initiatives that we are looking at is, number one, much stronger technology focus. As new technologies, quantum computing or AI technologies become mainstream, we want to be able to make sure that our talent and technology are ready for serving the clients. So that is the first part. Second part is that we strongly believe that our relationship with our customers and the depth of our service offerings, if we are able to reinforce our client partner programs and are able to engage better with our clients, we should be able to increase our velocity in revenue. The third area is what I call execute, 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 which means we know areas where we have to improve. During the press conference, our CFO Rohit shared with you that there are initiatives regarding subcontractors, regarding utilization, regarding simplifying some of the geographies or portfolios, or fourthly, the divestments. So Rohit has already outlined the program for all of us. It is just execute, execute, execute.
Mhm. All right, Mr. Anand, the final question to you. We're looking at the headcount that has declined by around 4,000. The attrition has also eased. How are the utilization levels right now, and what are your hiring plans for the rest of the year, considering how the business picture changes?
Yeah, so if you look at the 4,000 reduction in headcount, half of that is driven by BPS, which is typically the seasonality that we see in the quarters. As we go into the second half, you will typically see a ramp up that will happen in the BPS. So maybe look at it that differently. From a utilization perspective, let's look at IT, where there's a 2,000 people reduction in headcount that has happened QOQ. I think that when you look at the revenue drop, and with that, the alignment from a headcount perspective is still higher. And as we move forward, that alignment will get better. When you look at hiring plans for the second half, I think it's less about hiring, it's more about pyramid correction that we're going to be focused on, where we'll drive correction in juniorization and make sure we get the productivity benefit there. And retraining our existing staff, as CP mentioned, more and more on generative AI and areas where we can help utilize their skills on various customer initiatives, as well as driving internal productivity measures. So I think that's the focus we'll drive as we move into the rest of the year.
One final question to Mr. Gurnani and Mr. Joshi. Mr. Gurnani, I think you have about 6 months or 5 months to go. Mr. Joshi, if I may say so, you have pretty large shoes to fill. So how are you taking the rest of the next 5 months? And beyond that, Mr. Joshi, how do you see your tenure at Tech Mahindra?
I think, look, the benefit of this very thought through transition, the board and CP have given a lot of thought to this transition. It's really being managed in a very organized and a very professional manner. This gives me the benefit of of getting a deep insight into the customers, into the teams, into the solutions, and working with CP on the go forward organization structure and the operating plan. So it is very thought through and very useful from my perspective. I will be using the next 5 months to again get a complete download, from CP on the organization and on his plans to take it forward, which obviously I and our management team will refine. This is a time to listen and to learn, and obviously, 5 months are not enough to download a lifetime of great fans' knowledge, but I will do my best.
Mr. Gurnani, your take.
I think, clearly I'm very happy now that I've spent almost all my waking hours in the last 5 weeks with Mohit, that clearly a head over shoulders, very sharp mind, but more compassionate mind for the employees. So clearly, what I know Mohit will bring into the company is, as I said, sensitivities to the people, sensitivity to the customer, and being a good mind really means is that it will help us in agility and in leadership. Secondly, clearly, his knowledge and experience of building multi-billion-dollar verticals, I think, is the need of the hour for Tech Mahindra, and his leadership to build multi-billion-dollar verticals will only help us accelerate faster. And thirdly, more important is the culture. It's not about the strategy, it is more about the culture. And whatever I've seen the last 5 weeks, and it's not only him, he has spent time with my family, I spent time with his family, and I can only say is that Mohit brings in values and the culture, and he would be a custodian of that culture, and maybe he will only make it better because his ethos are pretty similar to the Mahindra Rise tenets and overall the culture at Tech Mahindra, which is customer and people centric. So
All
very,
right.
very happy, very proud of Mohit.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. It has been a tough quarter, but all the best for the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.